Welcome to day 7 of our 13-day countdown to Halloween, where we do nothing but talk about Appalachian folklore, read true Appalachian stories, and even watch a few creepy clips. We are officially a week in, and this is by far my favorite series that I've done on here. I'm having so much fun, and you guys seem to be loving it as well. So let's get into day 7. Today we are going to be talking all about a rule that is said here, and that is to close your curtains, your blinds, your drapes, put a blanket over your window, I don't care, but cover your windows at night. And I think this is a rule that you should follow no matter where you live because of a few reasons. The first reason, what is outside is none of your business. If you are inside, especially in the mountains, you are going to see something that's going to traumatize you. Trust me, I'm going to be telling you a story that happened to me, and I wish I had not looked outside. Also, if you are out, especially if it's dark around you and you have on a single light inside with a window open, you have a spotlight on you and a fishbowl. Everyone can see you. Anyone that means harm, anyone that doesn't mean harm, anyone can see you. So that's not great. So for that reason, I say cover your windows no matter where you live, lock your doors, lock your windows. Today we are going to be talking about a few very true stories that were sent in to me. But first, I want to tell you a little bit about what happened to me when I looked outside at night. Now listen, this is not completely Appalachian folklore related, but if I had followed the Appalachian folklore rules, I would have never seen the gaping mouth woman. So one night, I am laying up here in my bed, and my bed is like right beside French doors that lead out to a balcony. And I remember I had my curtains open because my dog was looking outside. It was probably like 11 or 12 at night. Well, my husband decided he wanted to go downstairs and get either a snack or something to drink. So he paused what we were watching on TV and went downstairs, and naturally our dog Nebula followed him. So I was alone up here. So I'm up here, I'm doom scrolling on my phone, and I just keep feeling this pull to look outside. Now the setup for my house is I have my backyard, there's a road, there's a little field across the road, and then there are woods. So the balcony faces all that. I kept feeling like I was supposed to look outside, felt like something was watching me. It didn't feel threatening, I just felt like I was supposed to look. So eventually I'm like, alright. And I turn to look, and I come face to face with a woman. She is wearing a white dress. She has her arms completely outstretched into a T-pose. Her neck is kind of thrown back. Her mouth is wide open, and her eyes are wide open. Did I say she was wearing a white gown dress? Because she was. Didn't have on any shoes. The issue is that I was like pretty face to face with this woman. Of course, she was in the field, so it wasn't like this. But like we were on the same level, and I'm on the second story. She was levitating in the field. Now, this is not the only time that I would see this woman. I would see her a few more times. It actually ends up coming into a full circle moment that I will never share the ending of because it's name dropping someone that's deceased. It's very sad, but as much as I'm glad that I could help her move on, it is still one of the scariest things that I have ever seen in my life, and I would not have experienced that if I hadn't looked outside, if I had followed the Appalachian rules. So even if you don't live in Appalachia, even if it's not folklore related, you could still save yourself from some trauma by not looking outside. So now let's read some other stories where other people messed up so that I feel less alone. I was around 6 when things started happening. I used to live in the middle of Appalachia, but it started one night when I was scared and I couldn't go to sleep, so I went to sleep with my mom. I couldn't fall asleep that well because I just had this feeling that I was being watched. I would open my eyes and see a shadow figure staring at me, just watching me. The way I can describe it is that it was darker than the dark, but I brushed it off thinking my eyes were playing tricks on me. Then the next night I was lying on the couch trying to go to sleep because I refused to sleep in my room because I was so scared. I always had an uneasy feeling in there. When I was lying on the couch trying to sleep, I heard footsteps, but my brother wasn't home and my mom and stepdad were asleep. And I knew that because I could hear their snoring. It still keeps getting worse, and my brother could also hear things and see things, and his room is in the basement. One time me and him were hanging out in the room and his doors opened by itself, and suddenly it sounded like something walking in and sat on his bed right next to me. My brother was in his gaming chair. Me and my brother just looked at each other and left the room like we heard nothing. A couple days later, me and my brother were outside playing near the woods when we heard something running straight to us. My brother immediately grabbed me and ran to the back porch. I saw something who looked like my mom, but there was something weird about her face and how she moved. It just wasn't right. Once my brother saw this, he dragged me inside and locked the back door, the front door, and yelled for our mom, and my mom ran down the stairs quickly. Once my brother told her, she locked the windows and closed the curtains. She looked at us and told us not to look outside or go outside for the rest of the day. For the rest of the day, my mom was going to go to the store, but she opened the front door and there was a bunny lying there. She yelled for my stepdad to clean it up, but she thought that her dog brought it because her dog could go in and out of the house. But the deceased animals kept happening more and more. My mom started to get scared, and me and my brother were outside playing once again with a few of my brother's friends. That's when I decided to wander into the woods, which wasn't a good idea. But I went further, and then I heard something calling my name, and I followed it deeper. This is actually where I found a random shack-looking thing, and I went in. And as soon I heard my brother and his friends coming. They were close and yelling my name. I went to them, but my brother and his friends looked very relieved to have found me. I looked back and we heard something following us, but we didn't react. I looked back and saw something quick, and that's when I looked away and grabbed my brother, and that's when things started running straight to us. We all ran to the house and inside, and then we heard pounding on the windows. It wasn't just one. I was crying by how scared I was. Soon we started to get a bee infestation, and we didn't know what it was, and it was weird because it's never happened. One night I would hear knocking on the living room window. I looked, and I saw nothing, but eventually it started to die down. This stuff didn't happen as much, only here and there, and a year later, after I turned 7, that's when things started to happen all over again. Even worse, when knocking would happen every night inside the house. There was screaming in the woods and growling noises. My dog would bark all night. If he wasn't barking, he was hiding, shaking. Sometimes he wouldn't even go out to use the bathroom. He would just cry at the open door. My mom and stepdad still own the house, and I still go visit. They say weird things still happen, but I still sometimes experience and something I can't forget. This is a really good example of so when I say don't look outside, something might see you, you might see something. It's also if you see something, you're going to give attention to it. And I think this is a really good story, not just of keeping your windows shut, but of not giving attention to things, although there were certainly some window aspects in it. That was terrifying. All right, next story. I love hearing your stories and the stories you're sent. I save them for all week to listen to while I deep clean on Friday nights, even if my other YouTubers are boring me through work days. I've struggled with my faith and religion in the past years of my life and find myself borderline atheist or spiritual, even though I was raised in the church with extremely religious family members. Which brings me to becoming almost a skeptic, even though I've had many experiences that were absolutely paranormal and could not be explained away with logic. I find myself no longer being a skeptic after these 4 experiences that I've recently had, which caused me to lead more into a spiritual journey rather than not believing in anything. I've had a ton more earlier in life if you want me to send them in another email. I'm going to go in chronological order for these, and I'm so sorry for how long this is. First of all, never apologize for a long story to me, and yes, please send me in your other stories. I love getting stories about experiences that were so intense that it made people believe, or it turned them down a spiritual path because they were so intense. Those are the best stories. So this was late 2020. My son was just 11 months old, and I was having an extremely hard time sleeping. He was in a pack and play in mine and his dad's room, and he would just not stop getting up and babbling to something. I went in our room and laid down on our bed with him sitting on my lap. He kept staring at our closet, which was closed, and kept making a face at it, and then he'd burst out laughing. The face is hard to describe, especially because he was so little, but it was almost like a wide smile, like his eyes bugging out, and it looked like he was almost holding his breath. He'd then burst out laughing and then repeated this several times until I got freaked out. I took him to the living room, turned on all the lights, and stayed in there until he fell asleep. One of my very close friends, Ashes, was in that closet, and I'm not sure if that had anything to do with what he was doing, but needless to say, it scared me. This was mid-2021, and I was with my extremely mistreative partner that I shared a son with at the time. I have left since then, and my son and I are in no contact as of 2 years now. He was extremely addicted to drugs, and not only mistreated me to the point of not questioning him, but manipulated me into thinking he didn't have a problem, and it was just me making things up. He was pocketing all of the money I'd given him to pay the electricity bill, and our power got turned off. We were staying in hotels until we figured out what to do. My best friend picked my son and I up to get out of the same situation we were in. He'd gone back to the same apartment in the story above to get some of our things. It was pouring rain outside, and we were sitting on my couch talking. From that same bedroom, we heard a woman's voice call my name. It wasn't my government name that I went by at work, and I was working from home at the time. So with no power, it couldn't be something like that. It was also my nickname, the only friends and family called me by. Me and my friend immediately looked at each other and said, "Did you hear your name?" We looked outside on the porch, and outside the door to my apartment, there was no one there. To this day, we remember this and have no idea who it was that was saying my name. Ew. This is a new apartment that my son and I moved into in 2023. To preface, this all happened in Missouri. However, I grew up all over the U.S., including Appalachia and Kentucky, so I knew the rules. In this apartment we are living in, it's surrounded by woods, and the entrance to my apartment is around 15 feet away from the forest line. This was in late 23, and it was dark outside by 4:30 p.m. and the washer just broke, so I had to go to the laundromat with my son. We had just gotten home at around 7:30 p.m. and my dryer was still working, so I brought home some wet laundry to dry. My son was walking, and I was bringing up the rear with my laundry basket, and I hear him say, "Hi, reindeer." I looked up, and under the low, giant tree in the middle of the yards were 2 complexes down from mine. I see a silhouette of a deer standing completely still staring. But also a dog was right next to it, also staring and us wagging its tail. It was like I almost couldn't break the gaze from it, but my gut had a very bad danger feeling to it, and I had to get inside. I put my key code in the door, and as fast as I could, ushered my son inside and slammed the door shut and locked it. And for my last experience, this just recently happened this year. Of course, several small things happened in between, but this one sticks out like the rest. I was braiding my hair before bed one night. My son had fallen asleep on the couch. I was getting myself ready before I carried him to his room. My bathroom had a small window in the shower with frosted glass, so no one could make out figures inside the bathroom. Again, I know the rules, so I was freaked out when this happened, especially because I didn't have a curtain over this window since it's in the shower. When I was working on my first braid on the left side of my head, I felt one singular whistle. I would hear one singular whistle outside of my window. I thought maybe I was hearing things or imagining it, so I ignored it and kept braiding. As I was working on the second braid, I heard one singular whistle again. This time, it was right outside of my window. It was like someone pressed their face onto it. I immediately felt my stomach drop and ran into the bedroom. I FaceTimed my sister and told her what I'd heard, and she said, "No, you didn't." I knew better, but I was so scared. I finished my hair in my room and ran to my living room to grab my son and brought him into his room for sleep. The next day, my son and I were sitting on the couch, and it was 8:30 and pitch black outside. We heard what sounded like an open palm smacking the bathroom window hard. It was so hard that the other windows in the room rattled. He screamed and asked me what that was, and I said I don't know, and texted my neighbor that lives above me. He checked outside for me and even walked around my door and saw nothing. I went in my bathroom and found that something had smacked my shower head that was mounted in my shower off. It had flown into my bathroom window. My best friend, who is Cherokee, came over that weekend and staged my house. Since then, things have calmed down, but I still hear things that have eerie feelings from time to time. My son and I moved out of our house in March, and I'm hoping things calm down. Thank you for reading my stories. If you do, I figured with you reading them every day, I might as well share them. That is terrifying. An Indigenous person cleansing is like always the best thing you can do for these situations if one is willing to do it and readily available. Always. Alright, next story. I was scrolling TikTok and I kept on seeing your videos on the Appalachian Mountains and those videos about the mountains. They interest me and I love watching them, but I was watching your videos and I watched a few of them and I felt fine. I always have my curtains open, and I guess this time I just really uneasy feeling about them. I heard a bang. I don't know if the bang was just my vent, which is right next to my bed or not, but my cat would not go to the window bed thing. And I put it there for her, so that's weird because she loves sitting on that window and looking outside. But when I saw one video, which was just creepy, I got a bad feeling that something was watching me. So I just scrolled past the video that I was on so I wasn't watching a creepy video while I had a creepy feeling. That feeling just got stuck with me until 10 minutes later. That's when I decided to close my blinds while avoiding looking out the window. I don't know if it was just like my conscience being weird because I was watching creepy videos or not, but I want to share this because if I told anyone else, they would think I'm crazy. This isn't the first time it's happened, even if I wasn't watching videos about the mountains. Sometimes I just get bad feelings and I get up to close my curtains, and it would go away after 5 to 10 minutes. One time I even slept on the couch because my cat was acting weird around my window, and I just felt like something was there, but I do have woods behind my house. I don't think a person is watching, because where I live I just don't see this happening. Please tell me I'm not crazy. Please don't tell me it's all in my head. Also, this happened between 3:30 and 4 in the morning. Okay, you're not crazy. It's not all in your head. Definitely listen to your gut if you're ever feeling something strange, because your gut knows more than like you do. So I think you're doing good by keeping your windows closed. I just recommend closing them before it gets dark. I know you said your cat likes looking outside, but like they can look outside in the daytime. It's fine. Okay, well that is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for sending me in all those stories. It's kind of making me laugh because, like I said, looking up those keywords, some of the stories don't always match. So I feel like I'm just reading Appalachia and just giving you lore about rules at the beginning and the stories don't match. But it's fun. I kind of love it. But anyways, that is all for today. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me, and I will see you tomorrow.